Okay. hey Rob, that's you in here, right? This brush. Break out the big one.
Hello all. The subject of this audio essay is my absence, the tech platforms, the 2020 election, Gene Seberg, and oddly enough, Article 58 of the former Soviet Union's Russian Penal Code. I don't want to say too much quite yet about what I've been up to, but suffice it to say that I'm fine, or at least as fine as anyone is in 2020. Also, rest assured that I have not forgotten about you all or lost interest in the podcast, or more importantly, our community. Far from it. In fact, it's the exact opposite of that. I want to ensure that we can continue talking and building the community that has sprung up around the podcast. Portal Nation, if you will, is a place where I choose to spend my own free time with perhaps less distance than I should have with my audience, as many of you have become my friends. Some time ago, I started warning many of my friends to be very careful on the internet in the immediate run-up to the 2020 US election. In particular, I warned people associated with the intellectual dark web that they should be very careful not to lose their accounts. In the time since, we have seen new levels of bizarre behavior on Twitter and Facebook, which seem to be catching up to Google in terms of naked attempts to manipulate the national conversation. Not all of it is sinister, mind you. I don't hate having actual facts checked by true fact checkers, although the words actual and true are doing a lot of heavy lifting in this sentence. The idea for the warning was simple. Back in November of 2016, I started commenting on the idea that the, quote, fake news, close quote, panic was not authentic, that it was likely constructed in November of 2016 as a placeholder to be used by institutions stunned by the results and rocked in their faith that they could broadly control every election to make sure that both candidates were broadly acceptable to the institutional class with no Ralph Naders, Ron Pauls, Ross Perot's, or Bernie Sanders to worry about. Now, that is an odd thing to say. What does that mean, inauthentic or constructed? Many of you are no doubt thinking, I remember everyone talking about fake news all during the election. Isn't that interesting? Because that is not what happened at all. That's a fake memory, and it's not even yours. In fact, as late as the end of October of 2016, almost no one was talking much about fake news. In fact, the concept didn't really spike until after Trump's victory. It was not until the week of Sunday, November 13th, 2016, that the hypnotic and invariant phrase fake news exploded and went from being an extremely minor news story to the supposedly settled explanation for everything that had caught the New York Times, the Democratic Party, and the heavily anti-Trump tech giants measuring the Oval Office drapes while about to lose the race of a lifetime. Which is to say, I wasn't buying it. I just sat there and watched helplessly as everyone I knew responded to the perseverated phrase being repeated into their minds. Interestingly, this was seemingly an exact repeat of the so-called Dean scream, which occurred 12 years earlier on Monday, January 19, 2004, when the news media destroyed the political campaign of Howard Dean over a total and complete non-event by perseveration alone to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD as it is known to conspirators who practice this disinformation technique. At that time, the entire United States, save for a few contrarians, got brainwashed into seeing a candidate supposedly lose his mind on stage, which would never have occurred to anyone if the institutional media hadn't repeated it into a so-called alternative fact in the minds of Americans. If you doubt me, Dave Rubin and I arranged to have me on his show, The Rubin Report, before Trump's inauguration, so that there would be a permanent archival record of my claims, and to which all folks who would later question these claims could return. I further went to the trouble before the election of having my employer acquaint everyone in the firm with the theory of preference falsification due to economist Timur Kuran, one of our first guests, because I was all but certain that the polling data and the gated institutional narrative had not accounted for people lying about their hidden support for Donald Trump. And perhaps now you understand more about the title of the last Portal episode as a mildly coded message to my treasured audience. I once again suspected that almost everybody who was not sufficiently disagreeable to be considered Milgram negative, Ash negative, and Zimbardo negative, according to the 3 famous psychology experiments, was about to go completely insane as we did 4 years ago. It is simply too hard for ordinary people whose ability to feed their families depends on working for institutions to resist the drumbeats of either the Democratic or Republican master narratives. Now, most of you in my audience were born after 1980. And so you cannot obviously remember the revelations of the mid-1970s the way I do when I was around 10 years old. But for me and others in progressive American families, the revelation that the FBI had secretly planted totally false stories like the one that destroyed the reputation, career, and ultimately the sanity of law-abiding progressive Hollywood star Gene Seberg in mainstream newspapers and news magazines like the Los Angeles Times and Newsweek casts a long shadow. The reason is simple. We have all the chilling receipts, as the kids say today. The idea of the U.S. deep state's use of mainstream media to destroy lawful citizens' lives and sanity simply for political beliefs is not a conspiracy theory. It is in fact a 100% certain conspiracy fact that for some odd reason isn't taught much in U.S. high schools. It is also the reason that we must investigate the investigators and eavesdrop on our own spies if we wish to remain a truly free society. Well, I am of the belief that destroying people is considered fair play in elections by the insiders who view these contests as their own private blood sport, to which ordinary dissenting Americans are viewed as interlopers and thus prey. And increasingly, very few of us outsiders seem to believe in democracy anymore, as we increasingly believe that our side must always win against the implacable foe by any means necessary to quote Brother Malcolm. And this sport of personal reputational destruction is coordinated by members of a complex formed by institutional media, the intelligence community, the political parties, political consultants, finance, tech, and the academy. I call it Seberging to remind us of just how real the threat is to all who have idiosyncratic politics, but who have done nothing legally wrong. Now, as many of you might guess, if I had a strong belief that I could do something to save us by telling you to vote Biden or vote for Trump, I don't think I would let this stand in my way. But truth be told, I don't think we are playing the lady and the tiger with these two parties anymore. It's more like the Bengal tiger versus the Siberian tiger. So naturally, I was trying to figure out any way to plausibly open both doors to try to get the two parties to focus on eating each other rather than the rest of us. And I'm sorry to say that I, along with absolutely everyone else I know, have failed to come up with any plausible options. We seem to be on autopilot. We've built institutions that are going to oversee our undoing unless someone figures out a way to stop playing with the failed septuagenarians and octogenarians who came in as young people to the national stage in the 1970s and have rewritten the rules for their own plunder and enrichment for 30 to 50 years. This essay is a bit heavy, right? Well, pause the audio, pace yourself, take a deep breath. Maybe think about puppies? I don't know. Continuing. So to sum up the above, I don't believe almost any of what we are talking about on a daily basis makes any sense. We are going to wind up with one of two candidates that should not be running for control
What's
of
up?
nuclear missile launch codes. 4 years ago, I called the 2016 election the Sophie's Choice election, and I barely got myself.
Thanks for joining. Stream has been really slow. For those watching on YouTube, I'm speaking to people joining on Instagram, so if you'd like to catch me on Instagram, follow me there. Thanks. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can hear the pen scratching the paper surface, but that would be awesome ASMR, wouldn't it? It's calming to do, I can tell you for sure. Oh, what movies are you guys watching? Or will you be watching? Well, I'm glad you stopped by for the interim. Don't you hate it though when somebody has to do something, you have to pause a movie? Drives me insane. Sporloose, The Vanishing? Never heard of that. What kind of genre is that? All right, man. Have fun with your movie. Say hello. Wait. I'm gonna look that up then. Sporloose, The Vanishing. Horror, suspense, Italian. Okay, sounds intriguing. All right, goodbye. Have fun. Enjoy the movie. Most remakes are trash. I don't. All right, I'll look for the Italian one. Thanks for the recommendation.